This is a new era at the southern border.
We're moving with urgency and speed to get these vicious and violent criminals the hell out of our country.
Tens of millions of people have poured across this border under Joe Biden's administration. That stops now.
12 News is dedicated to covering the impact that border policies have across the state.
Over the last few years, we've seen the end of Title 42, caravans of migrants making their way to the border, and the response of two different presidential administrations. This was the scene at the border in December of 2023, when crossings reached an all-time high. You may remember migrants, in some cases, were being released directly onto Arizona streets.
And then fast forward 2 years, and President Trump has taken office, promising mass deportations and a stronger border. U.S. troops are deployed, and asylum seekers are turned away.
So what is the situation at the border now? 12 News journalist Bianca Buono recently rode with Border Patrol and crossed into Mexico to get a first-hand look at this new reality.
The Tucson sector covers most of Arizona and a total of 262 miles of the southern border. There are 9 stations with about 3,100 agents. Robert Ortiz and Teresa Fast are 2 of them.
What is this area here?
So this area is one of the areas here in Nogales that is the busiest.
But when we get in their car,
Right now, it's something that we've been hearing a lot lately is radio silence.
it's the quietest Ortiz has seen this sector in his 11 years here.
The numbers have drastically dropped since the new administration came into office.
From October of 2022 through December of 2023, the number of encounters with people crossing the border in the Tucson sector continued to rise. That December, the sector had more than 80,000 encounters, a record number. Most were migrants who turned themselves in, hoping to ask for asylum. Ortiz says that meant that nearly every agent had to switch to a processing job.
So there were some times that there was nobody out in the field.
Last year, the number of encounters began to decline after former President Biden issued a proclamation that suspended the right to seek asylum for those without appointments or for those who did not arrive to an official port of entry. In December of 2024, there were just over 7,300 encounters, an average of 235 people per day. CBP says with more recent changes, that number is even lower.
The numbers have decreased approximately 52% since before the inauguration day.
They say it's due to policy changes under President Trump, like the end of what's referred to as catch and release. They also point to the cancellation of the CBP One app. The interactions CBP is primarily having right now are with individuals who have snuck across the border and are trying to evade them.
Caminamos 8 días.
Like this man, who we met in Nogales, Mexico, after he was caught and sent back on one of these buses. He has cuts on his face and body from his time spent in Arizona's desert.
No te quieren hacer nada de trámites, nada, no te pueden ayudar. Yo traté de pedir algún trámite, hasta pedir un asilo de cualquier cosa, y no se puede.
While just north of the border is quiet, south of the border, the Mexican government and humanitarian groups are busy. Joanna Williams is the executive director of Kino Border Initiative, which works to assist migrants in Nogales, Mexico with food and shelter. Williams says they are also preparing for an influx of people as Trump has promised mass deportations.
It's a very different situation than someone who's coming from the south because they're just not familiar culturally with Mexico.
The day after the inauguration, 12 News was there as Mexican government officials met at a sporting complex in Nogales, a site identified as a place to build a migrant shelter for Mexican nationals who may be deported from the U.S. A week and a half later, massive tents containing beds have been constructed there.
I would expect that we'll start to see those deportations probably by the first or second week of February.
Back north of the border, on January 29th, the day of our ride-along,
the IFG will be able to spot them on the trails.
The only traffic we heard was about a possible group of 7 people in the mountains east of Nogales.
It was in the mountains here?
Yes.
That day, field agents in the Tucson sector apprehended less than 150 people. In January last year, the daily average was 1,600, allowing agents to get back to patrolling instead of processing.
It makes a lot of us happy that we actually get to go out and work the job that we signed up for.
And last week, we did spend hours with Border Patrol agents and south of the border in Mexico. You can stream the full version of our Border Impact Report tonight on 12 Plus starting at 8:30.
Yeah, very interesting, Bianca. You showed the tents that they have set up for people that they're expecting to be sent back across the border. How coordinated is that effort?
It's very coordinated. The Mexican government has this whole plan that it's called Mexico Embraces You. It's essentially catered towards Mexican nationals that have been living in the U.S. that are under threat of deportation, possibly people that have been living in the United States for potentially decades. So it's going to be a huge change if and when those deportations happen. So those migrant shelters are being set up not only in Nogales, but in south of all major ports of entry in Tijuana and Juarez. We've also heard about it as well. We're told that those tents should be ready to house people by the end of this week.
All right, that's the next step, the next proverbial next shoe to drop in this.
Yep, exactly.
All right, Bianca, thanks.